Hello, all guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to the newest episode of the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast, taped on Twitch and brought to you on YouTube, on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Austin. I'm a knockout. Watched a lot of wrestling.
I'm David. I'm a noob. I haven't watched nearly as much wrestling, and let me just say that I'm feeling rather vindictive at the moment because I have been reminded that my dear friend, my wonderful co-host Austin here, does not always recall his past follies and has already begun to reap what he has sown a little bit in the course of this particular arc. Hey, buddy, how's the reaping going?
Man, fuck this, fuck that. What the fuck? That's what I have to say. That.
Yeah. How you doing? How does it feel to pick out an arc specifically designed to piss me off, and then only realize, oh wait, yeah, I also have to do a decent amount of suffering in this too. How does that feel?
It is the same. It feels the same way that it feels every time, and that I will never stop doing it.
God damn it!
I will learn absolutely zero lessons from this. I am a protagonist in an episodic television show where I learn nothing. Status quo is God.
Everything
yada,
resets.
Yada.
Everything resets
every time.
We ain't fucking serialized here on the Noobs and Knockouts podcast.
I will have no arc.
No character arcs whatsoever, which, hey, pretty goddamn fitting for the era that we're in, I have to say.
Yes.
I just
kind of stop beating around the bush, we are continuing the Katie Vick saga here at the Noobs and Knockouts podcast, one of the most infamously bad storylines in WWE and potentially all of wrestling history.
This is, yeah. We didn't get much of that storyline last time around, except for a little drop at the end that up until this point, babyface Kane is actually a murderer. But we sure got a bunch of other infuriating bullshit, and I just feel the need to share what you made today as you were prepping for this episode of I had fun at the time, but listening back, I'm just dying of cringe having to explain a bunch of the Ruthless Aggression era to you. And that's what this is. My friends, strap in. We are in for non-stop cringe for the next several hours. Buckle the fuck up, kids.
Yeah. And I must say, David, I have to disappoint you in that last time I swore that this time was the moment. TMCR. Except I actually didn't have the plotting of this arc correctly because I thought the moment TMC and R was before their pay-per-view match. Oh no, it's after their pay-per-view match. This story is plotted extremely weird in that it is structured as a way to get Kane to fight Triple H at the pay-per-view, except the pay-per-view match is the midpoint of the storyline, and the most controversial part of the storyline happens after the pay-per-view, and their final blow-off match happens a week after the pay-per-view.
What?
It is so odd and out of character for how WWE structures storylines. I didn't even really know how to handle it.
So let me get this straight. They dropped the Katie Vick shit. We don't get a whole lot more of that until after what pay-per-view is it?
No Mercy.
No Mercy, thank you. Yeah, we don't get much more of that shit after No Mercy.
Well, not quite. Tonight, what we're going to be getting is basically the backstory, the origin story of it all, the explanation of what happened to Katie Vick. But the controversial moment that everybody remembers from the storyline is next time. So we're still waiting.
Okay. I can live with that. As long as I'm not being strung along for minimal Katie Vick content and just instead having to endure the rest of the Ruthless Aggression era's
No, I would have just skipped
bullshit.
ahead. I would have just skipped ahead if
Okay.
there was no anything important on this episode.
Okay, we're okay. I have my fucking Jerry Lawler effigy at the ready to snap his neck whenever I'm pissed off at this dude, or just to use him as a symbol for my anger at the rest of this goddamn era. I got him right here.
Right.
We're gonna be okay.
So, what happened last time? So we've already kind of covered a lot. The Katie Vick aspect of it is that Kane is the new #1 contender for Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship. And to add some spicy spice, Triple H is accusing Kane of having murdered someone in his past. And so on this episode, we're going to get the grand retcon that is the entire Katie Vick story.
Cool. You love to see it. I am slightly concerned for how the fuck we're gonna have the greatest character reveals of all time and destroy it with a dumb retcon, but it's okay.
Right. Otherwise, Kane is basically the man with all the gold. He is the Intercontinental Champion, having beaten Chris Jericho for it, and he is one half of the Tag Team Champions with the Hurricane as Hurricane. And including having won a TLC match by himself.
Which, I have to admit, pretty solid match, actually. I'll give that to him.
Yeah. That was a real highlight of the last episode with time we were here.
Yeah.
Other than that, we have, Booker T calling Chris Jericho a sucker, and Chris Jericho taking offense to that personally.
Yeah, I still don't understand why he took such personal. That's just kind of a thing that Booker T throws around to everyone's beef with, but sure.
Because he's Jericho.
Okay, that's fair. Jericho does kind of a little baby thin skin at times, little baby man.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we had Kane. That there wasn't a lot last time because last time was the Raw Roulette. So there's a lot that just doesn't really feel like anything happened. Like stuff happened, but it doesn't feel like it's plot important. Case in point, Jerry Lawler and the Ho Train. Doesn't feel like that's anything relevant to any larger storylines.
Memes aside, my ultimate confusion for that is why Lawler left the episode to go sleep with the Ho Train. Like, what was there a backstage reason for that? Or is that going to come in service of anything? Is that going to get acknowledged at all? Or was it just
I feel like
hell not?
I feel like it was a why the hell not situation. I think they're just going to probably make a joke or two about it on commentary, and that'll be that.
Damn, they didn't have a decency to get him off in such a crass manner so he could go to his, daughter's dance recital or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Trish Stratus won a brawn panties paddle on a pole match, and Victoria kicked her ass afterwards. So I guess that's happening.
We did some paddling, yeah.
Right. Victoria also alleged that Trish Stratus had a dark backstory, and I was like, "Hey, whoa, say whoa now."
That's Kane's dumb shit.
That's the Kane storyline right now. What are you doing? You can't have two dark past storylines going at once.
The writers be like, "Why, it's so good, I'm going to have it a second time."
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. Anything else happen on the Raw Roulette that I think has any long-term consequences? No, I think that about covered it.
Cool.
So, if you would like to watch, we're gonna watch the October 14th, 2002 episode of Raw. And if you would like to watch that as well, you can do so at peacocktv.com, WWE's American streaming partner. It's $4.99 a month with ads, $9.99 a month without ads. Or if you're international, you can still use the WWE Network for $9.99 American. Great. I'm so excited for this episode. I truly am. Let's just get it go. Let's just get it over with. It's time for some this is an expositional episode. Let's go.
Yeah, okay.
And we are back. We have just finished the October 14th, 2002 episode of Monday Night Raw.
Wow. So it was dumb. In quite a few ways, it was dumb.
Sure. Yeah.
And a product of its era. In other ways, it was offensive. In ways we will definitely talk about. Deeply,
so we just go ahead and get it out of the way, or
horrifyingly. No, I'm doing a bit. Then we can get it out of the way. It's stupid. It's offensive, but it's also, in a way, beautiful. In that this what is happening right now, almost like the Hogan Andre feud, where Hogan was so clearly showing his ass as the toxic friend, and yet the company absolutely refused to acknowledge that in any of the storytelling. Here we see just what a load of shit this company is when it comes to certain ideas, certain demographics, certain causes, and it's put under such a beautiful microscope via the Katie Vick storyline and how it contrasts to everything else going on around it.
Right. So
sorry, before one more thing before we go. I'm going to implement a quick system for this episode of there are going to be certain things that come up that I'm going to point out as things to bookmark for later that David can rant about at the end. And with each bookmark I put on something in this particular episode, I want you, Austin, and you, our audience at home, to see if you can't pick up on a pattern as to the things that are being bookmarked and what purpose I may have for wanting to kind of keep them in the back of our minds as a surprise tool for later.
I'm very intrigued by this entire bit you're doing here.
Oh yeah, baby. We're gonna have a good fucking time with this.
I want to just do this. Let's just do the Katie Vick thing instead of waiting till about the halfway mark of the show.
No, that's perfect. That actually fits really well with my bit that I'm doing.
I have one more thing to throw out there. Because of the way that this arc, where this story goes, and where we're at with this, content warnings aren't really something I consider of any note for this show. Not to say they have no value at all, just something I never really consciously think about for what the wild, wacky world of wrestling does. But I should ask, should we put something in post about this one?
Because I think that's probably a good idea because shit gets real yikesy real quickly.
Okay, so let's get into it. So
yeah, hey folks, content warning for right now. When it comes to alcohol use and abuse, potential domestic relationship abuse, and sexual assault.
That's not what I wouldn't even the first two things you've said I wouldn't even considering for that. But yeah, so I will keep in mind where this is in the book. I will endeavor to have a content warning at the beginning of the podcast, which I guess, whatever, it's just weird. This is weird, whatever. That reminds me what the timestamps are here. But
beautiful.
With that in mind, let's talk about the Katie Vick thing. So, at the beginning of the show, it is, they're talking a lot about the murder accusations. And of course, Jerry Lawler treats it as absolute fact that Kane murdered somebody. And JR is very confident that Kane didn't. And I'm concerned by how very staunch they are about either of those positions.
Indeed.
So in the middle of the show, Triple H is backstage, and he threatens that, like, if Kane doesn't come out and say and explain the Katie Vick situation after the end of this upcoming match, then he will do it himself. And so then the match that happens, which we'll talk about that when we go through the entire show, it happens, and then Kane comes out. So, Kane's promo. He explains Katie Vick. And Katie Vick was basically a friend he had in, I don't think high school. I mean, it feels very much like it should be a friend he has in high school. But then he explicitly talks about how she was there for his first wrestling matches in 1992.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what age I guess college age?
Potentially.
Sure. Yeah. So Kane and Katie Vick, they go to a party and Katie gets drunk. And so Kane decides to be responsible and be her designated driver and take her home. And then, but he says that, he can't really drive stick shift because I guess he can drive. I'll get to the parts about how this is a weird retcon of Kane's backstory after I explain all this. But he says, Katie insisted that he drive her car. And so he's driving, and an animal runs out into the road, and it causes him to swerve, and the car crashes, and he breaks his arm, but Katie dies on him immediately, on impact. And he swears that, no, this was a complete accident. That death weighs on his consciousness, but he is not a murderer. And then here comes Triple H.
Yep.
Triple H is like, good story, Kane, but you forgot some details. Triple H cites eyewitness testimony that suggests that Kane was also drunk, and so that Kane was driving drunk. And then here's where this gets real yikes, real fast. He also asserts that upon the police autopsy of the body, found Kane's semen on Katie. And to make sure we drive this point home and we just don't leave it hanging there, Triple H ends his promo accusing Kane of being a murderer. He asks him a question. Oh, I forgot. Before he gets to that, he explains that Kane had feelings for Katie Vick, but Katie didn't return those feelings because he's a big, ugly, burnt monster. And so he ends this promo with asking a question. Did he force himself on Katie Vick while she was still alive? Or did he wait until after she was dead?
Yeah, we went.
Sure, we're all on the same page here. Not only are we now accusing Kane of murder, Triple H is also accusing Kane of rape and or necrophilia.
Oh yeah, shit escalated.
That's what we're
real
fucking
quick
doing.
Fuck it, we're doing it live. I suppose they thought this was an appropriate thing to put on TV. When they said ruthless aggression, damn, I guess they meant it. Because this sure is a ruthless ass thing to put on TV, and I feel aggressively attacked by it.
Yeah.
Fuck. Why did we go here?
Okay. I would like to quickly pivot to the retcon part of this, because both there's more to rant about with the more obvious problems and also the more problems. So not only is this all very disgusting, it's also an absolutely insane retcon of Kane's backstory. To note, Kane's backstory when he was introduced in 1997 was basically of a man who was secretly raised by Paul Bearer in basically a basement to hate and wish to defeat his brother Undertaker for murdering their parents. And it is implied that basically he's been living in the basement until he debuts with the company in 1997.
Yeah.
This backstory implies or outright states that basically Kane had a relatively normal childhood existence. He has a girlfriend and can drive a car and goes to high school. He wrestled in 92. He's still the burn victim, but it's not the full body burns that he's implied to have when he first debuts. And he has an apparently relatively normal existence as a teenager.
Yeah. Somehow.
Right. It's weird, and they never really try to reconcile those two very different origin stories for Kane. Because also, if I want to go deeper, if he was having matches in 1992, that implies that Glenn Jacobs, that everything that happened in Glenn Jacobs' wrestling career happened in Kane's kayfabe wrestling career. That includes him wrestling as Isaac Yankem, a dentist, and fake Diesel. Did Kane wrestle as fake Diesel in canon?
Wait, first of all, was Kane fake Diesel in that thing? Was Kane?
Yes.
Oh,
fake Diesel
I didn't realize
was
that.
Kane. And again, Kane was also Jerry Lawler's evil dentist, Isaac Yankem.
And also, maybe you could make the argument that he just also happened to make his debut in 1992 as Kane in somewhere we've never heard of before. But I don't think the writers were thinking that hard about this. I mean, to be fair, the WWE as a whole seems to have a very touch-and-go relationship with the consistency of Kane's character and backstory and, who he is as a person. They don't seem to enjoy really sticking to the original concept.
Fair. Okay, now that we have... I was going now that we have touched upon the, the problems with this from a narrative perspective.
Before we
story structure.
Before we move on from the story structure part, this does kind of lead into a question I kind of hatched very early on that I wanted to ask you about if you had any knowledge of this. So, watching all of this, watching how Kane is this beloved babyface who's got all the gold, watching how toward the beginning of this episode, and I guess throughout the episode, how on the edge Kane seems to be after this Katie Vick shit came out, and how he's treating the people around him, and how half the people are just utterly convinced he's a murderer and the other half aren't, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of people actually acting like humans about this by injecting any sort of possible nuance whatsoever. It's all just an extension of team sports. Where was Kane's character at this juncture? Because everyone, or at least all the people, and even the people who do believe he did the thing, they're also scandalized at this notion that he could kill someone. There's JR on mic saying Kane may be a lot of things to a lot of people, but he's not a murderer. When he's supposed to be the devil's favorite demon, even if he's a fucking face now, that's the character he came in as, and as far as I know, there haven't been any major established changes to that being the case as to the origin of his existence. So what is going on here? Was this some attempt to recuperate his former edge? And if so, why have him in this specific position in the first place during the Ruthless Aggression era? Why take his edge away only to give it back to gauche manner? Like, what is the reason for any of this?
I don't know. I know that at this point in time, like, he's pretty clearly like a generally kind of like goody good babyface overall. Like, yeah. I think that's been obvious the last 2 weeks. Like, his stuff with The Undertaker is usually kind of portrayed as like, at this point, beyond the original feud. It's very much like this very like love-hate relationship with Undertaker that's kind of just like family drama that nobody else really gets in the middle of. Yeah. In a way that kind of ignores the part. Like, I talked to David about this, is that like JR and so many are so confident that Kane couldn't have done this, but like Kane came into the company trying to murder the Undertaker.
This was fucking
his character motivation. Yeah. And it's just kind of like pushed to the side for the sake of this story. And I think there was some attempt to get his edge back, if it will, if you look at like the kind of story, if you look at the next like year of Kane's storylines and like when he eventually unmasks and the way they kind of try to pivot his character after he unmasks for the first time, I do think there was some desire to like make Kane the scary monster again. How that fits into this, I don't know. I don't know why they decided this is the way they were going to portray. They were going to do Triple H versus Kane. I don't know what the thought process was.
So it's and you know, maybe this is a tiny bit spoilers, but they're not trying to push him back to distinct heelishness at this juncture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I think that comes from the unmasking, but okay. I'm not as clear about that.
So what? And he turned face because he was so over that they couldn't help but make him face, right? Was that it?
Yeah, that's basically it. Is it the crowd loves the guy, and so they made him a good guy?
So this was their attempt, maybe at bringing some of that moral gray area back, but they're not even trying to turn him fucking heel. So what's the whatever?
Yeah, I wish I knew what anybody was thinking, but this is one of those stories I feel like that nobody wants to really like talk about. Why?
Damn.
Like this is a shame even for WWE. So I think that makes it a lot harder to really know everything that went down with this thought process here. And it's such a short fucking storyline. It's a month. The whole thing takes up 4 weeks of TV. And it's never mentioned again.
That's so fucking wild, too. The fact that it... Anyway, yeah, so on a broad structural level, this is fucked. And I'll have, like, other tiny little rants about this, too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, broadly, without even thinking about how deeply inappropriate this whole thing is, it's fucked.
It's a bad story that fucks with Kane's entire character continuity.
Yep.
And I wanted to get that out of the way before we talk about the more serious issue of what the fuck. We're just going to have Kane be an alleged necrophiliac.
And if not a necrophiliac, an alleged rapist.
And we won't make him a real rapist until a couple more years from now.
What?
Right, the storyline with Lita, but that's a whole other time.
This is the only time they do an angle like Kane? Are you shitting me?
Kane, the good guy rapist, is another time.
The good guy rapist?
Yes. Okay, I guess I should explain a little bit. So, Kane did a storyline with Lita where he forcibly marries her, and even though she doesn't want it, and then she gets pregnant. That's so obviously rape. And then it's revealed in real life that Lita cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge. And so everybody hates Lita. So they try to bring Lita into the store on camera as an evil cheating bitch with Edge. Except in storyline at this point in time, her relationship isn't with Matt Hardy, it's with Kane. And so thus Kane the rapist becomes a baby face to a heel Lita.
I told myself before we started recording today that I wasn't going to force another enraged walkout segment, because I did one and it was great, and I did another one on the Christmas episode, which is also pretty funny. I don't want to win the bit. And I also feel like doing a comedy walkout bit for this might be too gauche, but just know I am burning with rage the fact that this is a thing, not once but twice, and both times Kane is, at least for now, it's a beleaguered babyface. Oh boy.
I mean, that's
man.
The Lita Kane saga is also not a storyline that's well liked or well regarded. As also to add on, before all of that real life stuff happened that made people hate Lita, the storyline as portrayed is that not only did Lita get pregnant, she also had a miscarriage. And so Kane and Lita and Kane were becoming closer through the trauma of miscarriage.
My God.
Because here's one of those things about wrestling pregnancies. Either they're real or there's a miscarriage. There's only two options in wrestling pregnancy storylines. It's a real pregnancy or it's a fake one, and it's an excuse to do a miscarriage angle.
You know, maybe the W would never be taken seriously as a company for the fact that they pull shit on multiple occasions, so much so recognizable trope like that. Dear fucking God. This just keeps getting worse. That's a completely unrelated story aside from having
let's
character, but
let's cycle back to the Katie Vick arc.
Hey.
So, right. Kane is an alleged rapist now. I can't comment on an in-character whether or not there's any reason to believe that Kane is a rapist in character at this point in time, as we only have Triple H's word for that, and, well, he's not reliable in any way. But still, they went there. They made that part of the story.
Yeah. Just fucked on so... And the fact that they have heel Triple H trying to call this out to be like, oh, it's such a mystery. Look at the moral ambiguity of all of this. Oh, man. Oh, what's the truth? What's the lie? Just makes it a zillion fucking times worse. Like, not only do they have the audacity to put a story like this on wrestling TV, but there's a certain level of flippancy with which it is clearly being treated. Not only by virtue of the show that surrounds it, and again, oh boy, we'll get to that, but just in the sense of doing this for pops and for heat and for drama and intrigue rather than treat it like the serious fucking issue. Dear God, this is the offensive part I was talking about. Shocking.
Yep. Yeah, I knew what we were getting into with this. And this is
man. Oh, this is infuriating.
What we're here for. And
Great.
It's bad. It's very bad.
Good. This is not really good at all. No way, no how. Good
and like it's so non-integral to the story too. Like it ultimately isn't commented on by anyone except Triple H. Like I am glad it's not, to be clear.
Yes.
I don't want Jerry Lawler and JR to comment on that element of the story. But also, Triple H makes these accusations to the point that it is the definitive end point of his promo, and then when they cut to commercial and come back later, they repeat that part, that line, to make sure you see it.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about the weird rape necrophilia part. It is all focused on the potential murder aspect of it.
Yup. Yeah. It's fun.
You could have cut out like 2 lines of Triple H's promo, and it is not only significantly less offensive, then it just kind of becomes this really dumb high school murder mystery drama.
Yeah.
And it otherwise, again, changes nothing because nobody else comments on it.
It's almost like the entertainment industry has a really bad track record of throwing in rape storylines for artificial extra drama points when it was absolutely fucking unnecessary and not handled with the slightest amount of dignity.
It's not.
Especially in the hands of Vince goddamn McMahon.
Yeah, it literally is just kind of there to be one more sin against Kane, and not even a significant one, because that's still all centered around the murder aspect.
Yeah, but we had to spice this up somehow. So here it is, I guess.
Yeah. Did they read the story that they wrote for how this happened and think that there's too much ambiguity here about whether or not Kane is really at fault here, which I'm just going to throw out there. Even if we assume Triple H's version of the story is correct, Kane wouldn't be charged with murder. That requires, what's the word I'm looking for?
Motive?
Not motive. Premeditated. Premeditation. The story again was even Triple H's most uncharitable framing of the situation is that Kane drunk drove and then got in an accident that killed Katie Vick. That's manslaughter at the most, which is still kind of fucked, but also nobody really brings up that kind of legal jargon, and it kind of annoys me.
Well,
kind of legal nuance.
Well, again, we're not here for actual nuance here. We're here for cheap fucking heat. Which like, oh fuck, what was I gonna like? We're talking about, the rape side of this, of course, deeply unnecessary. Where the murder was all we needed, and like it's dumb that everyone's surprised that Kane could go to that dark place, but like it's I just really can't wrap my head around. Well, I understand why, but I can't believe that we actually went there, and that people in the writers' room thought this was a good idea. I understand why, on a writing level, they thought, they were dumbass. I bet all dude writing room back in the early 2000s. No shit, they're not gonna really have a great handle on how to present issues like this in a sensitive way, but like, dear God, this you took it from benign to offensive like that when you did not need to. Like, I thought at first when Kane came out, did his promo, and Triple H came out and was like, "Oh no, you were drunk," da 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 da. I thought initially, oh boy, are they just doing a long form drinking and driving PSA? That's the length that they were going to go to with this, and then it got a zillion times fucking worse. Honestly, I would prefer some cringy ass long form drinking and driving PSA starring Triple H and Cage over whatever the fuck this is turning into.
No.
Oh my lord.
He said they found your semen on the body and it all went downhill from there.
Yeah. I thought too, like maybe it's gonna be that they, because he said autopsy, maybe they didn't find alcohol in her system and you were the drunk one all along, and she
wouldn't that be a twist?
Yeah, it'd be dumb. It'd be really stupid. It'd probably still infuriating, but it wouldn't have been that. God. Ooh, yeah. So that's where we're at, folks. Isn't that fun?
That is the main line story that we're following in this 4-episode arc.
Yeah. Yep.
It's shorter than our usual arcs, not because I'm merciful, but because I can't really justify more time devoted to it.
Good.
As I said, it's thankfully a very, very small piece of time.
Yeah, fucking good. Austin may have said no mercy, but the universe didn't.
Hey!
Yeah.
All right. Now,
time to go and talk about the rest.
Let's talk about the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
So we open with, Kane is backstage and he's fired up and angry, and we then go straight to the ring where Kane and the Hurricane are defending the tag team championships against Christian and Chris Jericho. They don't really explain why this match was set up, so can't really say anything about it. But before the match, Booker T runs in and attacks Chris Jericho. Kind of makes sure you remember that they're still beefing.
Yeah, we get a lot of Booker spots in this episode.
Good for him.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for him, and I didn't realize he was the face until Austin explicitly told me. I kind of pieced it together.
Dude is like the number 2 babyface on Raw at this point in time. I mean, it's like arguably Kane is number 1 considering he's in the world title feud, and then it's like RVD and Booker T, and you could probably go back and forth on which one is number 2.
Yeah, no, but Booker is not happy with Jericho. That beef is still going strong, and that's what you got to know for now. Yeah.
Match is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad match, but
it's no. I mean, it's Hurricane's a talented dude, even if he doesn't go on to have nearly as prestigious a career. But then it's also Kane, Christian, and Jericho. I mean, what do you expect? They're all insanely talented, and Hurricane does a good job at keeping pace with them. So overall, it's a strong showing. But of course, what they have to do is point out just how on edge Kane is. He's his head's not in the game. He's focused more on hurting his opponents just out of anger than actually trying to strategically win a match. And so of course things start to fall apart for him.
I will say, I guess if I'm gonna praise writing in some way tonight here, is I will say I think that for the most part they do a good job of portraying this throughout the episode, but I don't think it comes across that much in the match.
I could kind of see it. I could kind of see that Kane was on edge, and I got enough of a sense of it, and commentary did a good job pointing it out, and I could see him doing slightly more aggressive spots than usual. Like at one point, he's picking up a chair and just chucking it down, I think, at Jericho. Or no, not a chair, the stairs.
Oh, he picked up the ring stairs and attacked Christian with it.
Okay,
and I wrote, and that kind of plays into how the match ends, because he kind of gets focused on doing that, and that leaves Jericho and Hurricane in the ring alone, and Jericho is able to pin Hurricane when put his feet up on the ropes for leverage, which no, can't do that. But ref didn't see it. Whoppity. And Christian and Chris Jericho are the new tag team champions.
Yep. Yeah. So, and Kane is mighty pissed about that. Hurricane's like, God damn it, no.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel bad for Hurricane. This is a real career highlight moment for him.
Yeah, poor guy. On a broad level, oh man, you deserve better. But yeah, Christian and Jericho grab the belts and haul ass out of there. And they find themselves backstage, where it becomes quickly apparent that they are now pawns in Bischoff's power play.
Yes, okay. So Booker T and Goldust are rearing to beat their asses, which fair. They've been all four of them have been each other's throats for weeks.
Yeah. Which I have to say, I can't remember if I pointed this out last week. Goldust plus Booker, wild ass combo, but I'm kind of here for it.
Absolutely. I love Booker and Goldust as a tag team.
Yeah.
They're great.
Two classy dudes. Fucking yeah.
But yeah, they end up, Eric Bischoff runs in to kind of break up the fight. And Eric Bischoff announces that I know they just won the tag team titles, but this Sunday at No Mercy, there will be a tag team title match between Booker T and Goldust and Chris Jericho and Christian. And Bischoff it isn't even left to implication that he's doing this to try to one-up Stephanie McMahon, who is, again, the GM of SmackDown. He explicitly says so. He's like, if Stephanie is going to crown new tag team champions at No Mercy, then I'm going to have my tag titles defended.
Yeah. So there are different tag titles per brand. Yes, there's a Raw tag and a SmackDown tag. Okay.
Yep.
I'm still slightly kind of behind the curve on Bischoff's entire evil plot to one-up Stephanie constantly. So I'll have more questions about that as we go on. But yeah, I guess for some reason Bischoff wasn't able to use Kane and Hurricane in this way, but he sure as fuck is immediately.
Well, I guess he would. I guess he wouldn't be able to because, Kane has the world title match.
Oh, fair. Yeah. So he's immediately jumping on this as part of his mwahaha evil plot to
I have to
the ratings.
Yep, pretty much. After that, we get Lance Storm versus Al Snow.
Yeah, with William Regal hopping on commentary at the start for some reason. And
just long enough for JR to give him shit about wrestling in drag.
I think JR and Lawler both waste their time on commentary ragging on Reegs for doing drag last time, even though he won.
Right.
Which you gotta love. Yeah. You gotta love though that in a match that is absolutely zippo to do with this, we're pointing out how gay.
Yeah, the match itself is a whole lot of who cares. Like Lance Storm helped Regal win last week, but also that has nothing to do with Al Snow. He's just kind of here to get his ass kicked. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So why the fuck are we wasting our time doing this match just so we can make fun of Regal for doing drag?
Yeah. How very 2002, I'll say that.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this, but I'm in a spicy mood. Fuck it. This is bookmark number 1. Okay? Keep this in mind. It doesn't tie in nearly as well with all the rest of the bookmarks, but I think on a broader level, okay? This is it still fits in kind of with what I want to bitch about at the end here. Regal definitely not here to interfere on behalf of Lance Storm though. Because he throws Lance Storm his brass knuckles, which I will say the only part about Regal on commentary I liked is they try to assert that he used brass knuckles to win last week, which he did. And he was very offended at the notion that that's what happened. I'm a fine gentleman. If you can't trust me, who can you trust?
He used the power of the punch. That's all it was. Totally legal.
Yeah, he's got a really good right hook, as you said. I don't know.
Yeah, -1. So he tosses Lance Storm the brass knuckles, and Lance Storm tries to hit Al Snow with it, except Lance Storm is a fuck up and he misses. And so he drops the Nux, and then William Regal tries to interfere and attack Al Snow, except Al Snow intercepts him, except that causes enough of a distraction so Lance Storm can hit the super kick on Al Snow for the win. So it's all a little complicated, but it all works out for Lance Storm.
So many shenanigans.
The shenanigans were running wild on this match in particular.
Yeah, dude. Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. We go backstage to Victoria with the coach, Jonathan Coachman. And so as a prelude to, again, as we've talked about, Victoria is also doing this beloved baby face has a dark secret past storyline that they're doing with Kane. And I already lampshaded how we're doing the exact same storyline twice. But so Victoria gets her chance to kind of explain her side of the story. And fortunately, it's not quite as gross as what Kane gets.
Yeah.
It's a very generic instead of they were both Victoria and Trish were both fitness models at the same time. I looked it up. That's fair enough. I don't really know how much interaction they had in their careers, but they were both fitness models at the same time. So I guess it could be true. And Victoria talks about how they both wanted to make it to the WWE, and she implies that Trish prevented her from being able to advance her career, stepped over her, and Victoria ends the promo with a really good line, of course, of Victoria, she has shown that she is willing to do anything to get to the top, while Trish has shown she is willing to do anyone to get to the top.
Yeah, with solid line, and hey, already bookmark number 2.
Yeah, and so Trish Stratus walks in and just slaps the shit out of her and leaves.
Yep. Slut shaming.
We'll be back to those two later.
And we will.
Yeah. So then we get a backstage bit with Jeff Hardy, Spike Dudley, and RVD just kind of saying nothing.
First off, I want to point out the weird ass No Mercy commercial we got.
Oh yeah, the one where Pete Rose gets attacked by Halloween guy. A bunch of kids show up in Halloween costumes that are wrestling gear, and he's like, "Fuck you, kids! I'm not giving you candy." And then Kane shows up and kicks his ass.
He's in this giant like psycho tier manor to dilapidated ass mansion, and okay, and there's like pumpkins outside, and yeah, so the No Mercy is Kane. Which is, oh man, unfortunate person to put in this one with the angle they're running. Why the fuck are they doing?
That's kind of because there's a long running bit of Pete Rose getting beaten up by Kane. Like every time Pete Rose does guest spots with WWE, Kane kicks his ass. It's a bit.
Random ass No Mercy commercial that was, nice and goofy. Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Now, again, yes, Jeff Hardy, Spike Dudley, and RVD are talking in the back just about last week's TLC match. They're not saying anything of substance except that Bubba Ray is still hospitalized from his injuries.
He is an injured boy.
In comes Eric Bischoff, who told them all to meet him here, and he immediately throws to a fucking TLC highlight reel.
Yep.
Which, I get why you do that from a out of kayfabe, narrative structure reason, but, why did he do that? Why did he ask the three of them to show up just to watch a highlight reel?
Well, the explanation is he's so proud of these boys that he put together something special for them. And I'm like, why is that, why is that reward for them a fucking hype package?
Yeah, it's weird. Then he starts booking matches. He books Jeff Hardy to face Rico up next. And then he tells Spike Dudley to hit the bricks. Spike kind of initially doesn't really listen to him, and Eric Bischoff has to repeat himself. And then he also makes a snarky remark about Nah, to give Bubba Ray my best wishes, and Spike Dudley tells him to go up yours, and then he leaves.
Yeah,
and then
Bischoff as this like maniacal star maker is I have to say kind of a fun character, just in that he's so ruthlessly driven to push the brand, and he's so I'm evil about it too. It's just so goofy, you know.
And I do enjoy the fact that like literally all the baby faces hate him. Like they don't even try to pretend, or like nobody tries to make peace with Eric Bischoff. They're just like, yeah, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Shitty bosses, am I right? Like,
again, the fact that they pulled over Eric Bischoff after the WCW acquisition to play this role in particular, woof.
But anyway, Bischoff then announces that, because Kane had a match at the beginning of the show, because he isn't in the interest of fairness, Triple H in the main event will have a match with Rob Van Dam for the world title, and it will be a Canadian lumberjack match. Now, what makes it a Canadian match, I don't know, to be clear.
Except for the fact that it's in Montreal, Canada.
Yes, that's where the show is tonight. But otherwise what makes it Canadian, don't know. But they're all going to carry leather straps.
Oh, shit, buddy.
Whip people with. Which is, but other than that is, so he's like, there you go, Rob.
Yeah, his act of charity.
Yeah, he also announces that Rob Van Dam will get a one-on-one match with Ric Flair at No Mercy.
Yeah, cool, whatever. It's something as vindication for something Ric Flair did to him in the past, maybe, I don't know. RVD doesn't seem too stoked about it.
He's just like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which is his MO. Then we get Triple H and Flair backstage bitching about the thing Eric Bischoff just did. I joked that Ric Flair, when Ric Flair was complaining, I joked, those prostitutes I gave you, Eric, mean nothing? And then Rick kind of says that without saying it.
Yeah. He's like, after what I did for him last week, or something like that.
Yeah. So they're mad, and then eventually Triple H is like, you know what?
Go for it. Sorry.
No.
You explain this because this is actually what leads into what I was going to say.
Okay. Is Triple H then eventually is like, you know what? Rick, don't worry about Rob Van Dam because he's not going to make it to No Mercy. And then he lays down his ultimatum to Kane about Katie Vick.
Yeah. Triple H is acting like a fucking gangster with this storyline right now of like, he runs the show. And you better do things how he wants, or else you're not gonna like the consequences. He's an inefficient ass gangster though. If he's fucking holding on to like we were talking about how he's been holding on to these accusations for a week and probably longer than that, like before he even brought them up on TV, and he's only now bringing them up. And like, gangster is the best way I can put it. But like, damn, imagine gangstering as part of a pro wrestling company mechanism. That's like one of the dumbest like what, talk about fucking edgelord behavior here, dude. It's so like why are you acting like this, buddy? It's so cringe.
Yeah. I'll get to it, but also I just want to say before we move on, because you brought up the fact that surely Triple H knew about this before now, that they do kind of lampshade how convenient this all is later, and I appreciated it.
Yeah. Except again, it's gauche as fuck for what the accusations turn out to be. So and that helps highlight too just how goddamn ridiculous it is when Triple H gets asked about this, specifically as a lead up to a world title defense in a wrestling company when it comes to a matter of life, death, and sexual assault. And he gives a flippant non-answer, like, yeah, what about it? Like, fuck off.
Yeah. Then our next match, Jeff Hardy versus Rico. I have nothing to say about it, actually.
I have two things.
To me, it was incredibly nothing.
I do actually have a few notes from this one. Although very little to actually do with the match itself. The one thing I will say for the match is I want to subtitle this one Battle of the Drips, because Rico and Hardy both got some looks that they're serving, and both are extremely different. So it's a matter of if you like extra emo punk grunge or if you like some snazzy leopard print.
Hey, that's fair.
But also, this was, because this match was a bit of a snoozer, this was the time to really kick back and notice the sign game in this particular episode. Want to start off with, shout out to the poor soul who brought the Kane is a murderer sign. I wrote before the Kane reveal, the exposition dump later on, so I'm saying it for completely different reasons, because when I first wrote that, I was like, shout out to the person who wrote this, not knowing if this is actually the outcome and making themselves basically look like an audience plant by doing this. Like, imagine being this bought into this dumb fucking angle. But now,
if we're gonna talk about
jumping the gun. Imagine jumping the gun on that sign and being bought into this angle so hard that you bring a Kane as a murderer sign to the episode where Kane gets revealed as like a potential rapist necrophiliac.
Oh, I want to talk about signs that bring that up. I know there is one sign I noticed later.
I did see toward the front row and I'm a Canaanite sign, which like
not that I'll point out when we get to it. But any other interesting
there's also
signs?
You pointed out the Brock Lesnar sign.
Yeah, dude brought up Brock Lesnar sign. Brock Lesnar's on SmackDown.
Yeah, so Brock Lesnar sign on Raw. Generally, sign game doesn't appear to be as strong in these days as it is kind of nowadays. Although this is not sign related. I think this was a commentary line. New Dudley lore dropped.
Oh, you're right. Okay. It was during this match too. So they were talking about the Bubba Ray being in the hospital. And Jerry Lawler was making remarks about Bubba Ray and his parents, and he's like, well, Bubba's parents, their parents are real close, second cousins. So
yeah, so Dudley incest
adding to the Bubba Ray, yes, adding on to the traveling salesman man whore lore that's previously mentioned on this show. Also, incest is happening here.
Yeah, incest. I'm gonna mark that one down as bookmark number 3, as amusing as it is. Oh boy, we're just hitting all these great little moments in this. But yeah, the main thing I kind of want to say about the match itself, again, not anything to do with the in-ring, whatever the hell is going on. But like, this whole match exists as like a ticking time bomb for the Katie Vick exposition. Except it was the most poorly established time bomb ever, in that it was established the fucking segment right before this, just suddenly and with very little build up, and with a match that has fuck all to do with the rest of the surrounding story. Neither Rico nor Jeff Hardy have any horse in this race. It was about the worst ticking time bomb ever. Fucking Hitchcock is rolling in his grave at this one.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sure was just with any sort of competency whatsoever. Dear God.
No, yeah, that about covers it. Then we get the Hurricane backstage, and Kane kind of tells Hurricane to leave him alone, and he doesn't give a shit about losing the tag titles. He's just mad and angry, and sadly, this is about the dissolution of the Hurricane as a tag team.
Indeed.
Then Terry Reynolds comes in. This is a remark to David. She is more involved in this storyline than I thought she would be.
Yeah.
But Terry Reynolds comes up to Kane, and she's like, I'm not here for you. I'm not here as an interviewer. I'm here as your friend. And she kind of comforts Kane, and she tells him that, like, you're broken up right now, and if you stay this way, then you're never going to beat Triple H, and you need to go out there and tell your story. Which is interesting, considering his story is an accused murder, but is what it is. A for effort.
Yeah, there's
trying to do.
God, past all of the
it's the thought that counts
and offensive bullshit that's going on. There is a compelling character piece here, and I gotta give props to Glenn Jacobs for giving a good, believable performance, at least to an extent. But it sure is a shame that it gets as offensive as it is and as dumb as it is, and also that for a zillion reasons, Kane is not the character to do this with by any stretch of the imagination. So this is just like on top of everything else, it's also just like wasted potential and resources. You could be compelling with Kane. Clearly, Glenn Jacobs has some good acting chops that he's showing off here. But god damn, as we've made very clear, this is not the way to do it. And it's made even worse too by when Kane is out giving his side of the story. In the promo in the ring. Every time he says a line about his version of the backstory, there's a what chant. Like,
I missed that, but Jesus.
Yeah, there were what chants after every sentence. There was a what chant, and it's like, why are we doing this? Like I wonder how the audience felt when this got as like fucked up as it did. But like man, the accidentally baiting what chants also doesn't help with any of what's going on here. So that's great.
Yeah, great. Then is the promo where Kane gives his side of the story, the one we already talked about. We are not going any deeper into it. And
halfway through the episode, which again is also dumb from a structural standpoint, because like, way to have your kind of climax right in the middle of this show, but okay.
Yeah. Then after that Hurricane is backstage and Kane apparently leaves the building.
Yeah,
that is important later.
Also, I noticed this when we got an extreme close-up on Kane's face. He wears the one white contact under the mask. And I gotta give props to him for that detail that no one is gonna see. Not a soul. I find that very funny. But at the very least, I could see it as a matter of, because I read this once, and I've experienced it myself. I see it as a case of sometimes performers will put little touches on their costume or makeup or what have you that no one is going to notice, but just helps them feel a little more in character. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case for Kane. If Glenn putting in the one contact, even though not a damn soul sees it, helps him feel a little more in tune with the character of Kane. Sure, I appreciate the dedication either way.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Then, as I joked with David after the heinous accusations brought forth on this show, we quickly move on to back to our regularly scheduled professional wrestling.
Not only do we move on to our regularly scheduled professional wrestling, we cut away from rape accusations to an overly sexualized women's match of the era.
You know what? Actually, I mean, maybe it's just all of the bra and panties and gravy bowl and eggnog matches have burned my brain a little bit. But actually, you know what? I don't really have a lot to say bad to say about this match. It was
more restrained, but when we have fucking Stacy Keibler in a referee bra, like that's still indicative of the general issues of the era. I think it's beautifully indicative. And there's several small things over the course of this match that caused me to make this whole thing bookmark number 4 regardless.
Fair.
So keep that in
But the match is Molly Holly and Victoria versus Jacqueline and Trish Stratus with Stacy Keibler as the special referee. The Internet Babe of the Year contest continues. I think Trish won that one.
God.
I think.
Yeah, you're really
I don't know, but as I said to David, at this point, I'm a little bit invested in finding out who won.
Yeah,
we get
a Babe of the Year promo. Which I have to say, so after the Christmas episode where we talked about good old Rock losing a match in Florida, I saw Trish come out, and it was made apparent that she is from Montreal, Canada, and Trish with the title going into a match for the title defense in her hometown of Canada, Montreal, Canada, fighting a match with a definitely biased ref in the form of Stiebler. Yeah, I don't know how this one's gonna turn out for good old Trish.
Well, you know what? It actually went okay.
It does, but also thinking about that made me think of something that turned out to come back a couple different times throughout this episode. Is goddamn, they really have just turned Montreal, Canada into WWE's own generator of nuclear tier heat.
Oh, I think I know when we're gonna bring that back up.
Yeah.
But the match itself is probably as good as you could hope for given the time constraints and the women involved. As I mentioned to David, the 4 wrestlers in this match are probably the best 4 female athletes they have in 2002. Yeah. And Stacy Keibler is actually not completely terrible as a referee. So yeah, she doesn't detract kind of from the match. Crooked.
Yeah. She's a crooked ref, but she's not an untalented one.
Yeah, so it ends up all kind of breaking down. Where near the end of the match, Jacqueline hits the big move on Molly Holly, and I admit I laughed really hard at this. Is Stacy Keibler goes down to count the pin, a 1, a 2, and then she feigns like her shoulder is injured, and thus can't complete the count.
Yeah, baby.
And Jacqueline is like, the fuck?
Stacy is too crooked to give this match to Jacqueline and Trish. Waka waka.
Yeah, and then my note specifically on this was Stacy fucked around and found out, where it results in Jacqueline kicking her ass and throwing her through the ropes. And she's out the rest of the way. She hits her big move on Molly Holly, and you think it's going to be a 1, a 2, a 3, but oh no, there's no ref. And then you got another ref running down to the ring to count this pin, and you think Molly's going to kick out because that's always how this works.
That's always how it happens, right?
But no,
like Danny Davis of yore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then it's 1, 2, 3, and Jacqueline just wins. Molly got pinned for like 15 seconds. It's like, great.
Yeah. I'm kind of shocked by that. Also, shout out to, in the middle of this women's match, Lawler suddenly remembering that he wants to brag about fucking the whole hoe train. Nope.
I was completely correct in my prediction, and that they would make a couple of jokes about it on commentary and then otherwise not mention it ever again.
And of course, they had to make those comments during the women's match. Also, the ref gets in on fighting with some of the competitors. Like they tackle him and he's like fighting back or trying to restrain them or some shit.
Trish and Victoria get into a fight after the match, and the refs have to try to break it up. And Jerry Lawler gets extremely aggressive about arguing that the referees are molesting these women in trying to break up the cat fight.
Yeah, and JR responds with, "You're just jealous,"
which is like, which is actually kind of like a fair assessment, to be honest.
It is, but oh boy, is that still gonna be a yikes from me, dog.
Yeah, a little bit. After all that's over, we get Booker T, Goldust, Spike Dudley, and Tommy Dreamer backstage, and Booker T's just really fucking excited to hit whip some people. That's all that happened.
That's about it. And then we get a Batista hype spot that looks like a fucking Ico Pro commercial.
Well, you see, we have that, but right before that, we get a No Mercy video that kind of re-summarizes this Triple H Kane beef. To which my only response is it mind games if Kane did that shit? because the promo and obviously the babyface way of interpreting this whole storyline is that Triple H is just trying to get in Kane's head, and the accusations are not particularly credible.
Mm-hmm.
Is the babyface read of it all?
Yeah.
So then we get a Eric Bischoff promo about No Mercy in the ring, and he's talking about how we will never, after this Sunday, we'll never see the Intercontinental title again because it is a unification match. And so he brings out Pat Patterson, the original Intercontinental Champion in the WWE.
Yeah. Yeah, Pat comes out and gets a huge pop for it, and
because he's also from Canada.
So, well, hey, there we are. And so he comes out and Bischoff singing his praises a little bit, and again, as a tribute to Pat, I guess he's put together another hype package that we watch.
Yeah, it's of the history of the Intercontinental title.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice, actually. A lot of the highlights.
Yeah, it was cool. It showed like all of the champions in what appeared to me to be chronological order. Also, shout out to them having a couple of the Stone Cold versus Rock spots that we have actually watched on this show. I was like, I was like Leo meme pointing. I was like, hey, I know that shit.
Yeah. There's also some stuff from Steamboat Savage at WrestleMania.
Yeah, this is true. So we got that. It's super hype.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the ring, and it looks like everyone's just having a good old time. But then 3-minute warning comes in and jumps Pat Patterson.
And beat the shit out of him. And Eric Bischoff is evilly laughing of like how your 3 minutes are up.
Yes, man, they really didn't have any sense of how fucking forced this was, did they?
Yeah, no, they don't. But no. Gerald Briscoe, the other former stooge of Mr. McMahon, comes to the aid of Pat Patterson, and he gets his ass kicked as well. But then the babyface is come to save the day, or at least D'Lo Brown and Jeff Hardy show up, and Big Show's there too.
Big Show with a leather strap.
Yeah, they got the leather straps from
Lumberjack.
Yeah, so they run off.
Except for Briscoe, but a leather strap for some reason.
Nah, poor Briscoe didn't get the strap to fight with. Yeah, so they fight off, and they fight off 3-minute warning, and that's the end of that.
Help me understand, what the hell is Bischoff's motive getting rid of the Intercontinental Championship? Because that's like the tier below heavyweight. So why are we doing like a unification with the heavyweight here?
I have no idea. I think it's just
he's being evil. I think it's just
I think it's just like a stakes raising situation, but I genuinely couldn't tell you.
So why is he being so maniacal about it? Is it just because with the current character, Eric Bischoff could eat a sandwich and evil about it? Is that just kind of where we're at?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, sure, why not?
Backstage, we get a little bit of a interaction between Chris Nowinski and Al Snow. Chris Nowinski used to be on Tough Enough. Sure. Yeah, Al Snow he's kind of a dick to Al Snow, and like that's the end of that. That sets up kind of Chris Nowinski and Tommy Dreamer, which, as I told David, we literally are doing an ECW arc in about 3 episodes, and so this isn't really what I would hope your first match with Tommy Dreamer was going to be, because it's not good and it doesn't play to his strengths even a little bit, and by that I mean it's a regular fucking match.
Yeah, well. As you do, sure.
They just kind of wrestle.
Woo!
Yeah, Nowinski tries to bring out the kendo stick to beat up Dreamer, and then Dreamer gets it, and then Al Snow shows up to help Nowinski win, and he's like, "Why'd you do that?" And they're like, "Ooh, guess we're gonna have to find out next week."
Cool. Yeah, we get this close up on Nowinski's face that just really put into contrast for me. Chris Nowinski makes white bread look spicy. Jesus Christ, dude is the most generic of white bread, pretty white boys I've ever seen.
Yeah.
man, you can tell he came from Tough Enough. That's what
Yeah,
I'm gonna
man. Yeah. So then we
Man.
get Triple H backstage with Terry Reynolds, and she's interviewing him, and she's kind of like, it seems kind of convenient that all this shit about Kane is coming out right now, right before your title match with him. Care to comment? And he just kind of is like, well, you know, it's not convenient. It just happened that way. And, you know, I don't want to get in the ring with a murderer.
Yeah, Triple H is in the White Knight era. He's very deeply concerned about the plight of women in American society. He's being a little weird to Terry, though. He almost strikes a flirtatious tone at a couple points, or maybe that's just his natural way of speaking, coming across as
that might be that.
Maybe. It's hard to tell. Also, glad to see Triple H getting his pops in while talking about, rape and murder.
Mm-hmm.
He still manages to get the just that damn good pop.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's, again, way to this issue with the gravitas it deserves.
I wrote a note about this as like good cut, bros, because because he taught the first half of this promo is about Kane, and then he stops talking, and so they cut to the crowd, away from him into the crowd, and then he starts talking again to talk about RVD in the main event, and so they like awkwardly have to cut back to him talking because as if they didn't know that he wasn't done, which. It does, however, present an opportunity for me to talk about that sign thing I mentioned earlier. So, after he's done talking about Kane, they cut to a sign in the crowd that says, Kane isn't a murderer, he's a freak.
What?
It was a very quick cut because they had to quick cut back to Triple H who's doing the promo. But the dude who brought the sign that called Kane a freak, I would love to know his thoughts after, the full breadth of accusations were brought out.
Well, he clearly was still on Kane's side if he was showing that sign after the breadth of accusations.
It's true. Then we get a Randy Orton hype video. I think it's mostly the same one from the last time, except they say different stuff in the interview that feels more sexually charged.
WWE bar. Yeah. Shout out to top quote of the night. I love women, Randy Orton.
Yeah, and admittedly, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to a lot of this, but again, the only two lines I remember is Randy Orton Jr. saying, "I love women," and his dad Bob Orton saying that Randy needs to use protection. So I was like, I don't know what we're talking about here, but it feels like we're talking about having sex, and you can't really convince me otherwise.
Yeah, I'm gonna call that one bookmark number 7. Oh boy, the number go up.
Yep, and then we get an on the stage interview with Jim Ross. He brings out Randy Orton to talk. He is injured.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton specifically says that he has tore his bicep, and he says that the doctors told him that it would take 9 to 12 months, but because he is no normal man, and he's going to fight so hard that he's going to recover from this in 3 to 4 months, which no.
hell of a claim there on a number of levels.
And I have to laugh at two different parts happening at the same time. As he tries to give this bit where he says that, like, if you wish to send me well wishes, you can send me an email. And he puts it up on the big screen, and it's a picture of Randy Orton, and it says, send emails at getwellsoonrandy@wwe.com.
Yeah. And he's like, if you email me here, I will personally respond to every one of these emails.
And the entire time this is happening, the crowd is chanting, "Na, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye."
Yeah, I still don't get why the crowd hates Randy Orton this much when he's still technically a face.
They probably just think he's really boring, which I would agree.
Yeah, that's fair. He, as you said,
So
being
then
a
Randy
face,
Orton
really not a
heals on
strong
the
suit.
crowd. And
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about it because you alluded to it earlier with Montreal, but
Yeah, no, he cheeses. He goes ham on this. I don't know if the intention was for him to be a dick to the Montreal crowd. I don't know if they predicted this. The get well Randy thing seems so so smarmy that I feel like it has to have been meant to be obnoxious.
that's part of my problem. That's part of my
this
problem with
era.
babyface Randy Orton is that like he's so naturally smarmy. I can't tell when he's trying to be.
Yeah, well, that's this era, and I don't trust these writers to have any actual intelligent, good barometer for whether or not something makes you likable or unlikable. So who fucking knows? But at the very least, he seems like he intentionally pivots to clowning on the crowd for this. Once he realizes just how much they hate him. And some Montreal Screwjob reference that does not go over well. He says something about, they say Montreal is the place where they screwed Bret Hart. Well, Montreal is also the place where they screwed Randy Orton, and the crowd goes practically ballistic. It is really admirable, just the house nuclear generator that WWE has set up for itself at Montreal, Canada. You know, very self-sustaining, very good at very good at creating large amounts of nuclear energy in a very contained space. It's only ever had one major meltdown. All the rest have been close calls at best. But oh boy, do they harness that heat, baby.
And then he twists the knife further, where after he talks about, this being the town where Randy Orton was screwed, he mentions that unlike Bret Hart, Randy Orton will be back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the other thing too. That pissed people off something fierce as it does. So
Which, by the way, there's something very funny about all these promos, both like because that's cheap asshole thing to do, but also they all age terribly because Bret Hart has since come back to the company and come back to Montreal.
Yeah, seriously.
Like there's a very specific 13-year time frame where you can make these kind of jokes. And after that, it's all dated as shit.
To be fair, that is a decent amount of time, and I feel like 13 years of being gone is decent enough for it to hold up somewhat well, even in retrospect. But it's still not like there's a certain fight that Randy is insinuating here that does not scrutiny anymore.
Yeah. So then we get Booker T versus The Big Show in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah. Just every time, but I just have in my notes, and I think that's just gonna be my note every time I see Big show up in anything from here.
I feel like this was a whole lot of a nothing of a Falls Count Anywhere match. Like Falls Count Anywhere matches, like a lot of hardcore matches, kind of live and die by like what they actually do with that stipulation. And I don't think I've ever seen a Falls Count Anywhere match do so little.
Yeah.
Like they just kind of fight in the hallway, in a narrow hallway for like 75% of the match. And there's not a lot of fun bits in the hallway. Like Booker T does a bit where he gets a fire extinguisher and uses it on him. There's a funny bit that pays off later where like in the middle of the match, you see Triple H and Ric Flair driving a forklift in the background. And
that was a great little visual
fuck is that?
It's like, there's a random little bit. I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah. But then they're otherwise just like punching in the hallway, throwing each other into production crates. And
Yeah,
then
I
we
mean,
get to
they're
the
two quite talented performers, but it's like,
right.
okay, whatever.
Not a lot's happening here. And then we hit to the piece de resistance, the big finale of the match of they find their way into the women's locker room, which technically you can. It's false count anywhere after all. And to their credit, the wrestlers don't really comment on any of this. Like, they don't act weird. And I guess that's a small mercy. Jerry does, because of course he does.
Jerry does. Jerry's
but at
very
least
excited by this.
At least they don't get weird. And I guess I have to take small victories when I see them. But they end up brawling into not just the locker room, into the showers, where Trish Stratus is in the shower, in her towel.
The towel, still bathing, and is just stuck there in the corner while this happens, looking deeply traumatized. The count out ends up, or the pinfall ends up happening in the shower. And
because Chris Jericho runs in with a steel chair and clocks Booker T in the face, and then Big Show just wins.
Big Show gets the dub, and they leave, and then Jericho, of course, has to stand there and fucking hit on Trish while she's still covering her naked body with a towel in the women's room locker shower that was broken into in the course of this match. Shockingly, this is our 8th and final bookmark of the evening.
Yeah, so an extremely unremarkable false count anywhere match, except for the really creepy ending. Great. Then we move on. We end up getting the payoff to what that background event of Triple H and Ric Flair at the forklift was about. Is their grand scheme is to trap half the lumberjacks in the locker room by planting a forklift in front of it.
Specifically, the face lumberjacks, who just conveniently all happen to be sharing a locker room that none of the heel lumberjacks are in.
Yep. Don't think about that too hard.
Yeah. To be fair, I could see mobster LARPing Triple H be actually communicating that to the heels. So it's goofy, but I can see it making some semblance of in-kayfabe sense. Like, he probably sent an email, it's fine.
Sure. But that is the explanation for the beginning of the lumberjack match. We are at our main event now. Triple H versus Rob Van Dam. The lumberjacks are out there and literally nothing but heels.
It's all bad guy lumberjacks. We discover pretty early on the match stipulation is goddamn ridiculous because the leather straps are just there to like wail on whoever gets thrown out instead of just throwing them back in and keeping the pace of the matchup. But here's the thing. I thought about it, and I would be willing to forgive this if they had played their cards right on this one. Because this is the big build-up to Triple H going in to fight Kane at No Mercy. And, we get little acknowledgments to this. I think it was Lawler said something about how RVD was showing no mercy TM to the game.
That was JR.
That was JR. Okay, either we get that line, and we get RVD thrown out at one point. It just gets yeeted on absolutely by the lumberjacks, and at one point we get Triple H thrown out, but the lumberjacks all just kind of like hug him and cradle him and just lightly put him back in the ring like a fucking beta. And then
it does give Rob Van Dam an opportunity to dive on all of them, though.
Yeah, it does. Which of course we got to get that spot in, and of course at some point all the face guys or face lumberjacks are able to break out and come running, and everyone starts fighting. Messy ending, waka waka. But I do find it that for as much as we're building Triple H up as this absolute monster for Kane to take down. I know why, because he's a heel, and it's the early 2000s, so we gotta shenanigans our way through this. But this is one of those moments where shenanigans kind of bother me, because I feel like it almost depowers our threat a little bit. Like, seeing Triple H get thrown out, and then just utterly hug-boxed by all of the heel lumberjacks, rather than just taking it, or even better, just not letting himself get thrown out in the first place. Like, this is just, I feel like this could have been stronger if it were just Triple H throwing RVD to the dogs, and it's just him being a complete monster and completely in control the entire time. And we do get a still decent sense of that, but like, still having Triple H need the support of all of his buddies to kind of protect him and not have to deal with the ramifications of his actions. Like, I feel like it does take away a little bit of his threat level here, going into when they're going so hard in the angle of no mercy.
I mean, yeah, it's a common criticism of Triple H of this point in time, is that he's like this long-term champion of the next 2 years, and he basically has to cheat to win everything ever. And it's like, God, why?
Yeah, and like, again, I get doing the disingenuous heel things not as how themselves to be, but it seems like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and still have Triple H be this terrifying heel on the merit of his own in-ring prowess, and then they just don't let that shine a lot. Yeah,
I would agree with that, but
yeah,
the match does all kind of break down.
Also, Earl Hebner is reffing. Yes, of course.
Yeah, so the crowd boos Hebner a couple of times.
Again, nuclear tier heat.
They're gonna hold that grudge forever.
Into perpetuity.
So it all breaks down because the baby faces end up getting back, they get out of their locker room, and as lumberjack matches are wont to do, it dissolves into a fight with between the lumberjacks. And then the match goes Rob Van Dam hits the 5-star frog splash, but there's nobody to count the pin. And in the ensuing chaos, Ric Flair does a drive-by hit to the face with the World Heavyweight title belt to RVD, knocks him out. Then he gets the ref's attention so Triple H can get the easy pin on RVD. 1, 2, 3. That ends the match. But then after the match, Kane comes a-running back because he never left, apparently. Or he left or came back. Who knows? But he is back. And he just beats everybody down.
Yeah, he's wrecking house, and he's coming for Triple H, and they meet in the center of the ring, and
JR is losing his voice.
JR for some reason is going the fuck. I've never heard this man emote past his usual announcer voice. He is losing his mind, frothing anger, utter vitriol toward Triple H, screaming that he's going to hell. Like, what the hell, dude? What got you so fired up?
As I mentioned to David, I feel like this whole bit would have been a lot more effective if this whole Katie Vick thing wasn't a dark cloud over the entire situation.
Yeah.
Like, Kane looks like a badass, and it's awesome. But, man, I just keep having to remember this Katie Vick thing, and it's like, well, I don't care as much anymore.
Yeah, again, we've made it clear there's so many better ways to do this angle, and they just chose the worst possible one. The absolute, objectively incorrect answer to how the hell do we write this rivalry in particular. Fuck off. And here's the part where we get to the Punch David's game. Hey, Austin, did you notice a trend amongst all the little bookmarks I sent throughout this episode?
A lot of bad writing surrounding women.
Yeah, a lot of blatant sexism and sexism on this show, which makes it real goddamn funny that these fuckers are white knighting and pearl clutching so hard over the potential that a woman has been violated by our noble Kane. Holy shit. There is no better example of so many of the things that are wrong with this goddamn company. Especially within this era, the fucking Katie Vick murder and rape storyline, and everyone's like, oh man, this is so heavy. This poor woman, what could have happened? What's going on? And then just surrounding it is just chauvinism all the way down of being sexist and being creepy and being pervy and being bigoted toward a lot of points of seeming degeneracy on the gender and sexuality spectrum. Man, sure makes all of this read about a zillion times more disingenuous than it already fucking does. Dear God, deeply infuriating.
Yeah, it's not great. We are knee deep in the worst that you could really offer.
Absolutely.
At this period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even hit rock bottom yet. That's next time is rock bottom.
Oh God. Well, that means at least the final episode of this arc will be up a lit, or at least not any further down.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be a very, very welcome end.
Okay, well, good. But dear God, I can't wait till we're here next time. It's gonna be awful.
Yep, but that is for next time that we are in 2002. But what about our next episode? Well, there is still one more episode left in January. And so I figured that our next episode should have a rumble. It should have the Royal Rumble.
Oh, shit.
Our next episode will be our first ever Royal Rumble match. Royal Rumble episode of this podcast, as we very slyly get this in right at the end of January, as we will be watching the Royal Rumble 2008.
Ooh, okay.
Yep. But that is for next time. Until then, David, hit our plugs.
Yes, sir. My friends, my dear friends, thank you so much for slugging through with us on this particular episode of Noobs and Knockouts Podcast. We are so delighted to have you with us, even on the worst of days for this fucking show. We hope you've had, the closest thing you can get approximated a great time with this one. If you're a returning listener, viewer, what have you, thank you so much for once again welcoming us back into your eardrums, your eyeballs, what have you. We hope you continue to join us week after week as you've been doing so, and just continue to have a good time with us. If you are a first-time listener, viewer, what have you, I'm so sorry, but welcome. We are so delighted that you decided to join us even this week.
What a time to jump in.
What a time to jump in. Please, God, nobody jump in with us in a month. But either way, thank you so much for joining us. We here at the Noobs and Knockouts podcast like to think we are welcoming to both noobs and knockouts alike. So whether you're a veteran of the wrestling fandom or you're brand new to this whole wild, wacky, you're welcome here. We hope you're having a great time here. If you would like to keep having a great time with us and you're not entitled to do so, well, not to worry, my friends. I have you covered. First of all, you can find us on YouTube. The Noobs and Knockouts on YouTube. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, make sure to turn some nice little salad colors so you get notifications every single time we drop a brand new episode. Comment, add us to your playlist, check out our playlists. Austin has been kind enough to organize all of the arcs that we do into their own separate playlists. So if you want to focus on a specific storyline, arc, era, whatever, you can find those nice and organized that haven't without having to jump around a whole lot. Also, most recent episodes, you can see our lovely, beautiful faces and our brand new, awesome color-coded setup for the Noobs and Knockouts podcast, so you can come watch us gesticulate and watch poor David bear head in his hands whenever things for us. It's a good time if you like that little extra little spicy visual element. So come join us there. If you like the audio only experience, of course, you can find us on 3 of the best places to find your podcast, which are Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Come give us a listen, download, rate us, review us. I know Spotify just added the review or the rate. You could drop us a 5-star rating on there, that'd be much obliged. Whatever the hell you do on Google and Apple Podcasts, rate, review, whatever, just anything to tell us that you kind of like the show that you listen to, and maybe more people should like it too. It gives it a nice little algorithm bump. So please come listen to us there, give us those downloads, and if you're feeling so inclined, give us a little bit of a rating too. Helps that a wee bit. You can also get in some direct contact with us on various places on the interwebs. First and foremost, of course, is our Twitter account. We are at Noobs Knox Pod on Twitter. That's at Noobs, the letter N, Knox Pod on Twitter. We drop dank memes. We engage with the broader wrestling fandom on a whole. We post every single time we drop a new episode, so you all know what the hell's going on around here. And, of course, the highlight of our Twitter is weekly wrestling. My friend, what is on the docket coming up?
Of course, as usual, every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on TBS, we have AEW Dynamite. Boom, boom.
Oh,
the one wrestling show I'm guaranteed to watch live every week. So let's go ahead and live tweet about it. On occasion, David also is willing to jump in sometimes when I am unavailable. Baby. In addition, we also will live tweet the AEW, WWE, and Impact Wrestling pay-per-views. And upcoming January 29th, we have the Royal Rumble 2022, my favorite gimmick match of the year. One of my favorite WWE shows every single year. In the Royal Rumble, 30 men enter. 1 man or woman leaves with a world title match at WrestleMania. This year we will have the 30-man men's Rumble and the 30-woman women's Rumble. We have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. Becky Lynch versus Doudrop for the Raw Women's Championship. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice in a mixed tag team match. And Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. Bangers all around. That's going to be a good time. Then next for AEW, upcoming on March 6th, will be AEW Revolution. That will be available on pay-per-view, Bleacher Report, and some select movie theaters. But that is way too far out for there to be any real matches or anything to discuss. So we will continue to talk about it every week, but until there's some real stuff to talk about, that's about all we're going to say about it. Then addition for Impact Wrestling, their next pay-per-view is Impact Rebellion on April 23rd, 2022. Again, Impact and AEW only do 4 pay-per-views a year. So, there's a long stretch of time until we get back to Impact Wrestling. But that will be available on traditional pay-per-view and Fight TV. Those shows are always a good time. And I always have a lot of fun live tweeting them.
Yeah, so be sure to check that all out. It's a great time. Both Austin and I, we like to think our live tweeting prowess good. I think we're a pretty good time to spend your time watching wrestling with, even if it's in a digital-only format. So come check us out on there. Of course, also, we have our email account. You can find us at our Gmail account, noobsandknock@gmail.com. That's noobs, the word and this time, knockoutspod@gmail.com. Come say what you think of the show, what you like, what you don't like, recommendations, requests of stuff you want to see future on the show, future arcs, future companies, just general wrestling adjacent one-off media that you dig up, whatever. We just love to hear it. Come start discourse with us, yell at us for our hot takes, whatever the hell you're feeling. Just come say hi. We love people saying hi. We would love to say hi back. So if you want to get in more long-form contact with us, you can find us Noobs and Knockouts Pod at gmail.com. And we also have a Patreon account. We are also the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on Patreon. $1 a month early access to episodes and a shout out at the end of each episode.
See y'all next time.
Hasta luego.